Warframe is becoming one of my favorite video games ever. I mean, it's certainly the only video game I've ever made a podcast and a YouTube channel about. And only a few short months ago, Red Dead Redemption 2 became my new favorite game of all time, beating out the likes of Majora's Mask and Dark Souls. It's hard to deny that they are both pretty incredible games and that they're really different from one another, worlds apart in terms of gameplay, overall structure, and maybe even the target audience. But that doesn't mean they can't learn some lessons from each other. Now before we start, I know this is a ridiculous video. That's the point. This is my wild and crazy daydreaming about two games that I adore. I'm aware that these two games have very little in common, and it's quite silly to compare them, but that's the whole point of this kind of video. It's just for fun. Also, these are obviously all my opinions. A few of these are things that are pretty reasonable, and I think a lot of people will agree with. Others are really off the wall, unexpected, and I know a lot of people will disagree, and that's okay. This isn't supposed to be an objective list that tells you one game is better than the other. It's simply my list of things that I think would be cool features to see carried across both games. If you like what I say, let me know by leaving a like, a comment, or a subscribe. If you think I'm an idiot, let me know in the comments, and then go ahead and like and subscribe so that you can keep mocking me in the future. With all that out of the way, here are 4 ways Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online could benefit from copying Warframe, and 4 ways Warframe, in my opinion, should be more like Red Dead. Warframe is a looter game with a lot of action, and Red Dead 2 is an action game with a lot of looting. In Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online, you need herbs, for example. Where do you find those? Well, you look for flowering plants out in a field. Makes sense. You need a new satchel, so you know you're probably going to need some leather and you're going to have to murder some dude's cow herd. All of the looting helps immerse you in the world of Red Dead. Likewise, you need resources to craft things in Warframe. But these resources for the most part are just sort of sitting there in places that don't make a lot of sense. Like, okay, what employee shoved a bunch of money into weird garbage can things and just placed them haphazardly around the room? Or outdoors? Or in an ice cave? But money coming out of weird places is a standard video game trope, especially for looters. What really gets me is these disgusting nanospore clusters and neurode masses. I mean, do they not have a janitor? Like, come on, Jim, you had one job to do. You dusted, but you couldn't get these weird biological masses off the floor? I think it would be pretty rad if Warframe went just a tiny touch in a more realistic direction when it came to looting resources. Maybe instead of just breaking blobs to get genetic material, you could, say, find a science lab with animal cages and beakers and centrifuges and stuff, and breaking those would give you genetic material. It would still serve the same purpose, but it would be a small thing that would go a long way to creating a sense of place in this awesome world of Warframe. This is something Red Dead was really good at. Here's looking at you, cowboy. Now I know, historical realism and all that makes sense for what Rockstar was trying to accomplish in the main campaign. But online? I mean, online is the Wild West, literally and figuratively. All the guns in Red Dead Online feel just a bit too realistic, to the point where they're a little bit boring in multiplayer, in my opinion. Reload times are too long, accuracy and damage are too low, and most of the upgrades just feel like a stronger version of the gun that came before it. Warframe, on the other hand, has dozens and dozens of weapons, and they all feel unique and powerful. Red Dead 2 proper, the story mode, it gets a pass from me in this respect. I'm glad the single-player campaign let me live out a traditional cowboy fantasy, but online gets no such pass. I don't want Red Dead Online to be True Grit, I want it to be cowboys versus aliens. So take note, Rockstar, of the exciting, creative, and varied arsenal of Warframe. Digital Extremes takes the cake. It's no secret that Warframe isn't exactly a user-friendly game. Red Dead 2 also turned off a lot of players at the start with its slavish commitment to realism and its long-winded tutorial. But if you made it through that tutorial, you sure as heck knew how to play the game. Before you left that snowy opening, it taught you how to shoot and hunt and pick up your hat and loot bodies and pick flowers and pick up your hat and ride a horse and pick up your hat. Warframe basically only teaches you one thing, that you're going to have to look up everything for yourself on a wiki. That's very reductive and hyperbolic, obviously, and luckily Warframe has a fantastic community, but it would benefit from offering a tiny bit more handholding if they want to bring in fresh players. There's a codex, and you get some instructions from Lotus, but overall it's pretty lacking by comparison. Way to go, Rockstar. Okay, this next one is a pretty easy, cheap shot to take, honestly, but that doesn't mean it's not true. Specifically, I'm aiming here at Red Dead Online. The actual story mode of Red Dead 2 is unbelievably low on bugs when you consider its breadth and its scope. But online, half the quests don't even trigger. Mission objectives don't appear. NPCs repeat the same dialogue lines ad nauseum, and the accept quest button just doesn't work. Warframe is massive too, but it's pretty much always just working. Aside from the occasional server disconnect or data mass falling through the floor, Warframe pretty much always does what you'd expect it to. Good job, Digital Extremes. Hopefully Rockstar can sort out their code sometime before the next-gen consoles come out. This is one of those subjective things, but this is my video, so I'm going to give you my opinions. I think Warframe has fun spearfishing. It's cool, it's a bit simple, but it's fun. I think the fishing and hunting of Red Dead are fun too, but they're way too slow for Warframe. I'm not suggesting a copy and paste. But I do think it would be cool if Digital Extremes fleshed out their systems a bit more by adding more creatures to go after. There are already small critters you can splat in the plains and in Fortuna, but it would be awesome if their mechanics were expanded. I could imagine catching bugs to create paint for new color palettes, trapping space foxes and space beavers to craft new Syandana, bow hunting for alien bucks and using their antlers to make armor pieces. It might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I think it could add a fun diversion for those players looking to shake up their daily grind. Nice work, Rockstar. Personally, I loved the weighty feel of Arthur in Red Dead 2's story mode. Everything about the awkward movement, the stiff aiming, the slow walking, all of it helped immerse me in a very realistic Wild West atmosphere, and it made me really feel like I was walking in Arthur's boots. But in online, it just sucks. Multiplayer shootouts are an exercise in auto-targeting and slightly tilting the right stick upwards. Trying to watch your six usually just means you're going to walk backwards off a cliff. Transitioning from walking to riding or riding to walking makes you a sitting duck. These crap controls and long animations worked fine against AI, but against real people they just feel like butt, in my not-so-humble opinion. Red Dead Online feels clunky on a much deeper level than the offline campaign. Just look at this clip. I had the drop on this guy, 100%, but I never stood a chance because the auto-targeting kept locking onto the stupid NPC behind him. Every moment of Warframe feels like a dream. Except for Arcwings, those suck. But everything else is just perfect. Bullet jumping covers an incredible distance without feeling too floaty, aiming is snappy and responsive, but it still requires skill, and sometimes flying into and out of the fray can be just as fun as actually shooting bullets. Well done, Digital Extremes. Okay, so obviously up to this point, it's been like one game does something great, the other game does something bad, with a few exceptions. This one isn't like that. This isn't about something Red Dead does better than Warframe, it's just something cool that Red Dead does, and when I thought about it for a while, I thought it could be pretty cool if it was adapted for Warframe. This is definitely my most out there idea on this list, so just bear with me if you disagree. Red Dead Online features a particularly brilliant mode called Name Your Weapon. In it, you compete to get kills on a wide array of weapons, from bows and hatchets to shotguns and sniper rifles. The catch is you get more points for kills with trickier weapons. If you wield a weapon that's harder to use, like a throwing knife, you're going to get more points than if you just use your trusty repeater. I can imagine a similar mechanic in Warframe, even though it's PvE, not PvP. What if Warframe added specific drops that only came for killing specific enemies with specific weapons, and the quality of your drops was affected by the difficulty of the kill? For example, if your quest was killing a Corpus Crewman with a pistol, it would give you a basic low-level mod. But if you shot down a Dargan with a bow, it would give you an incredible reward. Kind of similar to the challenges that go along with Rivens. Now, I know it's a bit of a crazy stretch, but I think it could be fun. Good idea, Rockstar. And finally, Warframe's microtransactions don't make me feel like I need a shower. I've already said that Red Dead 2 is my new all-time favorite video game. I adore Red Dead, and I am in awe of all that Rockstar was able to accomplish. It was a great use of $60. But honestly, I don't feel the same way about Red Dead Online. When I play a great free-to-play game, I often feel compelled to spend money on microtransactions. I want to thank the developer for making a great game and allowing me to play it for free. This is how I feel in Warframe. I want to spend and thank Digital Extremes for all the great content they give me without charging me for it. Plus, I feel like almost every purchase in Warframe feels worth it. I don't feel like DE withholds content just so they can charge you for it in the future. I feel like boosters are reasonably priced. In my opinion, the Prime Packs give you a great amount of content for your money. Even though I haven't actually bought one yet myself, I can see why people buy them, and I would certainly consider buying one in the future. But then there's Red Dead Online. I paid $60 for a single-player game, and I feel like the single-player was more than worth that money. But online feels like something different. If you paid $60 and you don't really want to play the single play, you just want to play something that's like GTA Online with cowboys, then I don't think you got your money's worth. It's buggy, it's clunky, it's restrictive. I do feel like things are withheld just to squeeze a few extra bucks out of me. The grind doesn't make me feel motivated and empowered like it does in Warframe. It makes me feel weak and frustrated. When I buy Platinum in Warframe, I get excited because I know I've exchanged my real-world money for something I will get enjoyment out of. The few times I've even considered buying gold in Red Dead, very few times, I just feel like I should wash my eyes with soap. Good job, DE. Very good job. Rockstar, please take some long, exhaustive notes about this last point. There you have it, folks. That's my ridiculous list of ways that Red Dead Online and Red Dead 2 could learn from Warframe, and vice versa. If you've got your own ridiculous ideas, leave them in the comments down below. I'd love to read them. Of course, if you agreed or liked this video, feel free to leave a like and a subscribe to make sure you stay caught up on everything we put out. And of course, follow Nintendo Podcast on all your favorite podcast platforms.